Jay Shear.
Jay Shear.
Jay Shear.
Jay Shear,
business consultant.
Jay Shear.
Jay Shear Business Consulting.
Welcome. I'm Jay Shear with Jay Shear Business Consulting. We build solid foundations for service-based businesses to grow and scale and achieve the results and success they deserve. And you've joined Business Minds Coffee Chat. Michael Jordan said, if you're trying to achieve, there will be roadblocks. I've had them. Everybody has had them. But obstacles don't have to stop you. If you run into a wall, don't turn around and give up. Figure out how to climb it, go through it, or work around it. Well, on today's episode, we're going to talk about transforming obstacles into opportunities, persistence, mindset, mentorship, giving back and making an impact in the world, and more. Our guest was once broke and living on the streets. He grew up with learning disabilities, was told he wouldn't amount to much, had no belief in himself, and was fated for failure. After multiple attempts to take his own life, a defining moment changed everything and reshaped his life. Fast forward to today, he's a world-class professional speaker and corporate trainer who, for over 25 years, has traveled 4 continents and personally trained and developed over 1 million people in over 50 countries. His impressive list of clients includes Google, Apple, Chase, BMW, Microsoft, and AT&T. He's a strategic advisor, mentor, author, and philanthropist, and sits on the boards of a number of public and private companies, including eXp World Holdings, the parent company of eXp Realty, Repelling, and Success Enterprises. Please welcome the man who understands that problems are learning opportunities in disguise, Darren Jacklin. Darren.
I'm grateful to be here, Jay. Thank you so much for allowing me to contribute and make a difference in people's lives.
It is my pleasure and my honor, and I am so excited about this conversation. You just have such an incredible story. You're such an inspiration, and I can't wait for our audience to learn from you and to experience all that you have to offer. So let's dive right in, because we've got a lot to talk about. And I really want to take us back really to the beginnings, because there's so much to your story that I would love for you to share with us, because it lays the foundation for what is to come. So why don't you take us back and share with us some of the early experiences that you had that shaped who you have become and the work that you do today?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I'll share the backstory. Yeah. So I grew up in a middle-income family in a city called Swift Current, Saskatchewan, Canada, a city of less than 20,000 people in population. And in grade 1, I failed grade 1. And I was determined that I had a learning disability and a reading disability. So they set me back a grade. And then it was determined through the school system that I was probably retarded or special education. And so I, being set back, was then put into a special education class. And from grade 1 to grade 12 of public school, I was in special education. So I was misdiagnosed with a learning disability and a reading disability. And I was also medicated on a drug called Ritalin for a period of time in my elementary school. And so as a young kid, I just didn't think anything was wrong with me. I felt like I was just like a normal kid, like every other kid in my neighborhood or on the playground or in school. And so when I became 7 years of age, I created my first little business called Rent-A-Kid. And I would go out and cut grass. I would shovel sidewalks in the wintertime and deliver newspapers 6 days a week. And by the time I was 9 years of age, my 2 best friends in my neighborhood, who I'm still great friends with today, 40 years later, they came to work with me on different projects and different odd jobs in the community. And so that became my identity. And so I used to go knocking on doors and cold calling people. And I was always solving a problem. So I just look around my community and thought, okay, where is there a need? Like, do people need their driveways shoveled in the wintertime? They need their grass mowed or raking leaves or painting fences or removing garbage or junk, out of their garage. And I was always looking to solve a problem. And that's where I realized those were what we call opportunity zones. And so I didn't realize at a very young age that, if you want to go make more money, there's no shortage of money in the world, right? People don't have money problems in life. They don't have thinking problems. Just go out and be in service and solve problems in your community or in your neighborhood. and you'd be amazed at all the underutilized assets. And so growing up through school, I identified with business and with finance. And I was terrible in school with math. I was not a good student. I was a D student in school. But what I realized was I could hire the A students. I could hire the smart students. And so throughout my junior high and high school, I would go out, like I was a kid that during Halloween, I'd go get dressed up for Halloween, but I would strategically plan a few weeks to a month in advance the doors I was going to knock on and the neighborhoods I was going to go on for my Halloween candy. For trick or treating. And then because I like, where am I going to get the best candy so I can come back to school and during the first week of November, I can sell that candy and make money and get a 2 or 3 or 4x return and then go buy cosmetics at the retail stores, buy the cosmetics and come back and sell it to the nice looking girls in school that want to look good with their self-image. Wow. And it was never about the money. I just wanted freedom in my life. I didn't want to be told what to do. And so I got to grade 11 of public school. And one day a guidance counselor and a school teacher came and brought me out of class and took me to the guidance counselor's office. And they said, Darren, if you graduate from grade 12, what do you plan to do with your life? And I said, I want to travel the world and I want to build companies and build businesses and hire people and create lots of economic development jobs and some of that and make a huge difference on the planet. And I always remember the guidance counselor and school teacher looking at each other and like, okay, that's just a pipe dream. Like that's, come on, Darren, let's just ground yourself. Let's just think in real terms of reality here. You're never going to go to college. You're never going to university. You're not going to get a formal academic education. You're probably not going to work for some big corporation or organization. You don't come from financial wealth. You don't come from that side of the railroad tracks. Like, let's just look at where your life is going to be if you graduate from high school. And it was really depressing for me because these were role models. These were mentors to me in my life. And so I left that guidance counselor office that day, really depressed, really down in my life and thought, wow, I may not graduate from grade 12. I'm probably not going anywhere. And the hard part was during that conversation, that guidance class, is they said, Darren, people like you are like what we call throwaway kids. You're not going to amount to much. You're not going to go far, not going to amount much. You're probably going to get a job digging ditches or working in the oil and gas industry in the oil patch. Again, nothing wrong with those jobs, but you're going to do a physical labor job. And I was never good with physical labor. Even though I cut lots of grass and shoveled lots of sidewalks, delivered lots of newspapers, I was more creative at creating other people to help me. I was good at knocking on the doors and making the phone calls. And one of the things I discovered is that, as human beings, all we are is a network of conversations. We're up in the International Space Station looking down on planet Earth, looking at this beautiful planet. We're just a network of conversations of human beings running around these meat suits. So anything we want, need, and desire in our lives is going to come from strangers. But most of us are taught based on our environments growing up, strangers are unsafe. Look at in 2020 with the global pandemic of COVID-19, we're taught to social distance, stay at home, self-isolate, don't get near close proximity to people. And one of the things we really got to realize that a lot of us, had to pivot, become virtual today with technology. And I've been doing technology virtually for many years, but a lot of people in 2020 had a wake-up call realizing, wow, we're now in a global village and anything I want, need, and desire in my life is going to come from strangers, but it's about having a conversation. And I can share with you some things I've learned in terms of strategy to build a global network of people and now build businesses all over the world and to serve vast amounts of people.
Amazing. And we're going to dig into that. But I want to go back to something here for a moment, because you brought up and you mentioned a couple different times about the way that you defined yourself, right? Or the stories that you were told about you, right? That you had a learning disability, right? You're on meds. You're not going to amount to anything. You probably won't or may not graduate. You're going to be in a manual labor job. Again, nothing wrong with that, but they had, by people who you believed in, people that you trusted, didn't necessarily believe in you. So if you take us back, how did you change that internal dialogue? Because again, these were people in a position of authority that you trusted and believed in. So what were you doing different to change the storyline to be able to move past all of that?
Absolutely. Great question. Because I grew up that I didn't matter. I was invisible. I was not smart enough. I was not good enough. I was stupid. Some people call me a retard in school, in class. I had a neighbor who was running for a political party. Her name was Patricia Smith. And she was a neighbor. I used to cut her grass, used to shovel her sidewalks, and I used to deliver newspapers to her 6 days a week. And she lived right across the street from me. Her husband was in a wheelchair. He was a partner in an oil and gas company that he had a workplace incident that ended in his life, putting him into a wheelchair. And I saw her when she ran for political office, how much criticism and haters and all this stuff attacked her. And yet I saw her because, I did a lot of household chores for her around her home while she was busy campaigning and traveling the province of Saskatchewan, Canada. And I had a lot of one-on-one conversations with her at a very young age, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, span of my life growing up. And I got a chance to watch it because she was always in the news media. I was delivering the paper and she was on the front cover of the newspaper that I was delivering to her doorstep. And one of the things I discovered from her was that, she always taught me about integrity. That without integrity, nothing works. There's no workability. And if you do things right, and if you have a positive mindset, and so just this modeling of being around her as a public figure really ripple affected into my life because she was my neighbor. Like if I didn't grow up in the same neighborhood as her and she wasn't across the street from me and I saw her in my community, I would put her on a pedestal and I'd put myself in the pit. I would never be able to relate to her. But because I cut her grass, shoveled her sidewalks, delivered her newspapers, I was more personal with her, right? And so she had a huge influence on me because I thought, wow, this woman's getting so much. She's such a great-hearted woman, wants to really serve her community, serve her province as a public figure, but yet she's got all these haters and all these critic people. And so that really helped me in school because I had a lot of people who laughed at me and made fun of me and thought I was never going to amount to much, never go far. And I was the kid that you would never bet on, Jay. Like when it came to sports, for example, I was clumsy, very lousy at sports. And I was the kid who was always like, okay, Darren, just go to that team in phys ed because we have to balance the teams out. I was the kid who was, like you didn't pick me for anything in school. I was just go over here. And so statistically, if you look at the odds, I was someone you never would have bet on, someone you never would have believed in to where I am today in my life. You would never have bet me. I would have been a losing bet. And that's what I've discovered in my life now is that people out there who, I when I travel and I speak at conferences and conventions all the time, and I see people, these underdogs, these men and women who've had adversities and failures and challenges, or an immigrant coming into a country, for example, the United States or Canada, and they come in with $50 in their pocket, their life savings in their pocket, $50, but they got a dream. And someone give them a chance, and someone believed in them, and someone opened up a door for them. And that's what I see with myself is that my mindset changed when I started to get around certain people because our environments are stronger than our willpower. And I just knew that the school system, what they were saying to me wasn't true because I'm thinking, that's not me. I don't identify with that. I'm not this person. I'm not this, special education retarded person that you're telling me I am. I'm not stupid. I just don't conform and don't relate to this structure of a system that I'm in, this environment I'm in. It's just the school academic system was not the environment for me. And, I'm an entrepreneur today, but that was, nobody really knew what an entrepreneur was back then. And it wasn't the, mainstream media term today, but I just realized that I love to help people. I like to make a difference. I like to solve problems. And I realized as I graduated from school and I went out there and I got jobs and I became an employee, I'm not a great employee because I don't like being told what to do. I don't something that could take an hour. If I can do it in 10 minutes and still get paid the same or get paid a lot more, let's just do it in 10 minutes versus an hour. Let's just be efficient and condense time. And so it's been a great journey for me because school, at the time I was really upset and I went back many years later to be a guest speaker at the high school I was at, and they declined my request. And I don't know why, whether they felt that was a threat or what it was, but I thought, wouldn't it be great to go back to a high school class, and because some of the students I went to school with, they've now got children that are in that school, the same school I went to school. I thought, wouldn't it be great to, the ripple of impact, right? But
absolutely.
It's been a great journey to realize and just reflect, but also to the influence and inspiration I've had on many other people through social media today of people I went to school with because they saw me in class. They saw me how I struggled and I had failures and adversities and challenges. Now they see me today and they're like, how did you do that? Like they're trying to make sense. Like how Darren Jacklin, how did this happen? Like, how did you do this? Well, through adversity, I learned a lot and I learned what to do and what not to do. And so that's why I'm grateful now when I meet people or I'm training, developing people, why I'm effective is because I can show people what works and what doesn't work based on my experience.
So let's keep pulling on that thread a
Sure.
bit of your experience, because there were so you get through high school
Yes.
and you still experienced some adversity, even
Sure.
though you were creative, right? You were thoughtful in your approach. You were looking for ways to serve, looking for ways to learn. You had this neighbor who was helping to influence you and help you build the right type of mindset. So
Yeah.
take us a bit further down the
Sure.
road and share with us some other challenging times that you had and how you were able to overcome those.
Yeah. So I complete high school. I leave Swift Current, Saskatchewan, Canada, city of less than 20,000 people. And I moved to Western Canada. I moved to a place called British Columbia, Canada, a place called Vernon, British Columbia, Canada. Now we got 60,000 people in population. So I go from 20,000 people to now about 60,000 people in population. And I'm 19, 20, 21 years of age around there. I had a bunch of money saved up from all my odd jobs, my rent-a-kid business, things I've been doing. And I meet these two guys at a birthday party, and they're creating a company, a startup company. And I'm like, wow, this is really fascinating. Like, they're selling me the dream. And I'm thinking, I got some money, I got good credit, and I'm an integral person. So I said, I'll be your investor. So the next day I meet them at the bank. I co-sign all the loans and all the lines of credit. The bank wants to do a thing called a GSA, called the General Security Agreement. They want to collateralize anything I had. So I had a car that I worked my butt off to pay for and buy this car. They collateralized the car and a bunch of other assets that I had. And so anyways, I ended up giving them thousands of dollars in cash in a brown paper bag, took the money out of the bank account and did this. And I remember the lady at the bank saying to me, "Are you sure this is the right thing that you're going to do?" I'm like, "Yeah, we're going to do this. We're going to do all these big things." And I was excited. I was elated with this startup company. So no due diligence. I didn't know what due diligence was back then. No discovery process. No asking other people around me for their feedback or what they think of this. I just went and did it by myself. So I co-signed these loans, lines of credit. 120 days later, the bank called to demand loan. I'm the co-signer. They're making phone calls to these two guys with the startup company. They're not returning the telephone calls. So now the letters start going out in the mail and by courier. This is back in the 1990s. They're not responding to the demand letters by mail or by courier. So one day I get a knock on my door. It's a bailiff. And he says, "Are you Darren Jacklin?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "You're being served." And he touches me and these paperwork drops. He goes, "I'm here to repossess your automobile." I'm like, "What? I'm in good standing. I don't owe any money. I may have a parking ticket or two, but I don't owe any money." He's like, "I need the keys. Tow truck's here. We're taking your vehicle." I'm like, "For what?" He goes, "You owe us money." And I'm like, "I don't know anything." He says, "Yeah, you're the co-signer." So they repossessed my car. My bank account got shut off, wrote a bunch of non-sufficient funds, bounced checks, couldn't pay my rent. My utilities got cut off. And now I'm homeless on the streets. I got no place to live. And I'm embarrassed. I'm just like, I failed. Like, I'm just down and out. I don't know where my next dollar is going to come from. I don't know how I'm going to pay off these debts. Now the bank starts suing me because I'm the co-signer. So now I got litigation against me. And I go from a really good credit score in Canada to an R9. And anybody watching who comes from the financial industry or banking industry, you'll know that an R9 credit score in Canada is worst case scenario. Like, it is worst case scenario of a credit score you can get. I'm an R9. Like, I'm red flagged on the system now, right across Canada. I'm in bad shape. And I ended up having to go down to the welfare office with government identification because I had no place to live. I'm living in an apple orchard underneath an apple tree. And I ended up collecting welfare for a few months. And I learned a lot being on the street. I went to some people and they're like, "Hey, you know what? You should have went and got a real job. You shouldn't have been doing this stuff." Because I was focused on being an entrepreneur. I wanted to go after my goals and dreams. And so what happened was, that was a huge thing. And so what happened was, I get my welfare money. And here's something where I learned today in my life. I'm really good with money today. I have phenomenal credit. I've got multiple revenue streams. I'm financially independent. I've done a lot of well. I'm really good at money. And here's the lesson. When I was on welfare, I went to the 7-Eleven convenience store and I was living on less than $2 Canadian a day because I had to budget. And so I go to the 7-Eleven convenience store, and some of you guys will remember, your listeners, when 7-Eleven used to have this special called the $1.69. You get a hot dog and a super big gulp, or a hot dog and a Slurpee at 7-Eleven. And I would go there every day for $1.69. I get a hot dog and a super big gulp, or a hot dog and a Slurpee. And I just changed the flavors of what I wanted. And I did that for a period of time. I also ate my next meal out of a garbage dumpster. And so I know what it's like to be down and out. And I also know what it's like to be going down back alleys and realizing, just like in life, those garbage dumpsters is actually real estate. If you talk to people that are homeless, they own those dumpsters. And if you start going in there and looking for bottles or cans or food, you get into physical or verbal confrontation with other people. So you go to any major city throughout the world, and those dumpsters, those are owned by some homeless guy. That's his territory. That's his turf, and you don't mess with that. So I learned very on street smarts on the street. You don't mess with somebody else's real estate, which is that dumpster. And it taught me a lot. And what I realized when I was down and out, I didn't want to go to the food bank. I didn't want to go to the mission to get food because I was so embarrassed and I didn't want to humiliate anybody and I didn't want to look bad. So I was very undercover covert with this. So I would eat out of the dumpster and I would go look for bottles and cans and things I could, but I looked for ways to solve problems. And I would go to 7-Eleven every day. And then after, I went and got a job at a watermelon farm, picking watermelon and cantaloupe, which I'm still friends to this day to the family from many years ago. And I went back to the welfare office and I tried to repay all the money that welfare gave me plus 10% interest. And they wouldn't take back the money because they're a government organization. They couldn't believe it. Like, here's this guy on welfare as a recipient coming in a few months later with cash, trying to repay back all the money plus 10% interest. Because I didn't want a handout. I wanted a handout. I just wanted to be short term, not long term. And so I know what it's like to be down and out. I know what, when people say living paycheck to paycheck, listen, I lived hour by hour. I didn't know where my next dollar was going to come from. And I went to court one day. I'm being sued by the bank. I remember I go to the courthouse and I'm terrified. I don't have any money for a lawyer. I can't get legal aid. I don't know how any of that works. And I go in there. I have no paperwork because everything was done verbally as part of my, with thing. I just verbally, I didn't keep any of the paperwork from the bank. I was totally disorganized in that area at the time. And I go in there and before we start the trial, with me being sued as the co-signer, the judge brings up to the front of the courtroom and he goes, "We're going to take a 5-minute recess. Mr. Jacklin, please come to the bench." I walk to the bench and he looks at me, he goes, "Mr. Jacklin," he goes, "I'm a good judge of character because you look like an honest man walking in here. I have many people coming in and out of my courtroom all the time." He says, "I'm going to share something with you. I want you to remember for the rest of your life, young fella." He goes, "When a person with money meets a person with experience, the person with the experience ends up with the money." And I thought, wow, when a person with money meets a person with experience, the person with the experience ends up with the money. And he goes, "You were elated, you were excited, you have money, you worked hard for it, you put money away, you saved it. You met 2 guys, you didn't do any research, no due diligence, no discovery process, and you gave them the money. And now, because you're a nice guy, you're here today because you're being sued by the bank as a co-signer." And he goes, "One thing you need to remember is you need to learn how to do due diligence. You need to slow things down and you need to do due diligence, ask questions. And if you don't know what questions to ask, get around people who are more successful you to ask questions. We're going to come back in a few minutes. We're going to resume. You're going to have to go through this lawsuit." And so it took me about 7 years to repay back all the money. I had some people upset with me, but I wanted to restore my integrity. And what I realized during that process was that, my word meant nothing. In fact, a lot of people say talk is cheap in business. I agree with that. But I also believe that a lot of people cheapen their talk. Their word has no power. And my word for many years of my life had no power. And one of the things, Jay, a defining moment in my life that changed when I became present to what I said out loud and to myself during the waking hours of my day. So what I realize now, my word is law. Like, so for example, I use an iPhone, and in my calendar, when I live by my calendar, because if you don't put things into your calendar, it's not going to happen, right? It's just, you got to have that structure. And so whenever I have things in my calendar, I actually create alarms for things in my calendar, because what I've discovered through going through a lot of adversities and failures and challenges is never assume you're not being observed. Never assume you aren't being observed. We're always being watched and observed. And people need to move their feet, not their lips. I used to move my lips a lot, not my feet. And when I started moving my feet and talking less and showing more actionable results in terms of me moving action. So what I started doing was just being on time was huge for me, because what happened was people started to watch what I was doing by my action behaviors. But another thing is to build my self-confidence. See, I had very low self-confidence. I didn't believe in myself. The reason why is I had so many broken promises to myself and so many broken agreements to other people. In fact, when people saw me, they just, oh yeah, I'll invite Darren to my birthday party. He's probably not going to show up, but I'll
Hmm.
invite him anyways. And so I had so many broken agreements with so many people. And what I realized, same thing with financial. I was so out of integrity with my finances. I had money all over the place. I didn't pay my bills on time. And one of my mentors sat down with me, Jay, one day, and he says, listen, I'm going to have you go through an exercise. I want you to write down 50 things on paper that you're out of integrity on with your finances. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, write down. He says, go to work. I want 50 things. You got 1 week. Come back in 1 week. You're going to meet with me. I'm like, I don't have 50 things. He's like, yeah, take a look. Start to audit your life. Do self-reflection. Do a life in review. Start to audit your life and look. And I realized, oh my gosh, I'm out of integrity here. I'm out of integrity here. And I made a list of 50 things where I'm out of integrity on my finances.
Wow.
And then he says, you need to go to work and you need to restore your integrity by being in communication with those people because you hurt those people. And you need to restore your integrity because your words don't mean anything, Darren. And so I started to call these people. I said, listen, I want to apologize to you that I borrowed money from you. I never paid it back to you. And I'm really sorry for that. And I want to restore my integrity and work on a payment plan with you. And I also want to get present to what's the impact on me not restoring me not paying you? What's the impact in your life? And I had to listen with people. It was really powerful. And that exercise changed my life. Then I started to go to work in other areas of my life. Where am I out of integrity? And I said, so one day I'm with my mentor who's big on integrity. He says, Darren, you're out of integrity with your car. Look at your car's a disaster. You haven't cleaned it. There's junk in the trunk. There's crap all over inside the front and back of the car. You drive around your gas tank all the time on E. If I get in your car, I'm nervous. Number one, it's cluttered with crap. And number two is I don't know when you're going to run out of gas. Because you need to get in integrity with the way you live your life. And so what I've discovered now, if you look at my life, everything is impeccable with integrity. I have teams who are around me all the time, impeccable with integrity. There's workability everywhere in my life. And so the key thing is look at people, look at your life. Where is there not workability? Where are things not working? And that's where you look at how do I restore integrity in that area? And we don't realize, and what happens is we don't realize the power of our words of what we speak. And when we just start showing up, I'll give an example for your listeners, okay? Just think for a moment, over the next couple months, you may be having a special event or special occasion, and you're going to invite people to a birthday party, could be a get-together, a dinner event, whatever it is, right? Personally, professionally. And there's some people in your mind that you're gonna phone them or text them or email them or send them an invitation, and you know that when they receive the invitation, it's done. They'll be there. You don't have to send them any reminders, no text messages, no email responders, nothing. They're going to be there on time and in place. Other people, it's like, well, I wonder if a person's going to show up. Just like Jay, you and I doing this interview right now. There's people that you probably interview, I wonder if they're going to show up. Do I have to send them another reminder? Should I make a phone call? Should I send another bit? What if you could live your life where when you tell somebody you're going to do something, it's a done deal? And if not, you'll be in communication in advance. There's a breakdown in the car, there's a road vehicle accident, whatever is a delayed flight, you'll be in communication. And that was that changed my bank accounts, changed my finances big time, changed my relationships, changed referrals, changed businesses, things I'm involved with, opened doors, all kinds of possibilities and opportunities got created just by me realizing that I had cheap talk. My words didn't mean anything. And I just become very consciously awake and aware of what I spoke out of my mouth, what I gave my word to, what I committed to, what I made personal, professional promises to. And that changed so many things in my life. And so many people, when you look around, Jay, their words don't mean anything.
That is so true. And I mean, you've hit on some incredibly powerful points here. And I want to make sure that we are addressing this and that we are shining a very bright light on some of the things that you just brought up. And I want to make sure that we all understand why it's so important to look at every area of your life. So for someone who is listening right now that says, well, I'm doing just fine in business, right? And the other areas, hey, it is what it is. I'm doing okay in business. Why should someone look at every area of their life and make sure that they're leveling up and also focusing on the language they use, how they speak to themselves and so forth? So just kind of help us understand, because obviously it made a radical change in your life. And if we look at where you are today, right, you're a great example of why this is so important. But I want you to delve into that just a little bit
Sure.
so we have a better understanding.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, first of all, the secret to living is giving, right? Are you a go-giver or are you a go-getter? You're one or the other. You're either a go-giver, giving to other people, or you're self-centered, focusing on yourself is a big thing, right? And I was always a go-getter. I was a hustler, grinder, all that kind of stuff. What's in it for me? Go, 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 go. Gimme, 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 me, me, me. That's how I started off my life. Lack and scarcity, total lack and scarcity. Now my mindset is abundance and prosperity. So there's that aspect of things. Another thing is how we look at our lives is if you want to feel more joy in your life, then be in service to more people. Solve problems. When people ask me all the time, they go, oh my gosh, I'm stressed, I'm not making any money. Well, because you're focused on yourself. If you start serving other people, just like public speaking. I was terrified of public speaking until I got into Toastmasters and Dale Carnegie. One of the things I learned in those two organizations was if you focus on your audience and providing value and contribution and love and making a difference in their lives, you won't feel nervous or scared. So like last night, I had dinner with a gentleman and I noticed him, he's a realtor and he had this ring. I said, can I ask you about your ring? And he goes, yeah. I said, this is a two-way ring. He goes, if I focus, he took a course called PSI. It's a seminar course. I've never taken it, but it's out of California. He said, if I turn the ring this way, I'm focused on myself today or this week. If I turn my ring this way, I'm focused on others in terms of being a service to other people. So every day I put the ring on, I have to focus on serving myself or serving others today. Am I taking care of my well-being and my self-care? Or am I today focused outwardly in serving other people? And he said, every day you have to take the ring off and put the ring on and off every day. It's a daily practice.
Interesting.
I thought that was interesting. Yeah, I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
And so one of the things to realize in our lives is we're just a network of conversations with other people. We're just a network of conversations. And anything that you and I want in our lives is going to come from strangers. Strangers, everything we want, everything we desire in our lives. And the key thing is that a lot of people, they're just comfortable, right? They're just comfortable. And there's nothing wrong with that. But what if you could go to another level in terms of self-actualization of human potential? One of my mentors years ago was Jim Rohn. And I'm not sure if you heard of Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn,
absolutely,
an incredible human being. And Jim Rohn, like for example, I remember one time on an audio cassette tape, he said, set a goal to become a millionaire. And it's not about the money. It's for what it will make of you to achieve it. It's not the money. It's for who you become as a human being. It's what do you make of it to achieve it? It's the journey. And so the key thing is in our lives, if you're a parent, you've got children or grandchildren or nieces or nephews, we are always modeling. People are always watching and observing us. And so it's important as a citizen of society that we, emulate that we show people who we are. We're always on display. People can read our energies, right? An energy shows up in a room when you walk into a room. And so one of the things I always say with people is that, success is not something you go out in the world to pursue. I used to always believe that was a belief system. It was a mindset I used to have. I used to always believe that success is something you go out in the world to pursue. It's not. Success is something you attract into your life by the person that you become. Success is something you attract into your life by the person that you become. So practice being an attractive person. We don't realize that. I'm down 31 pounds in the last 5 months.
Ooh,
I was 218 pounds. I'm 188 pounds today. And I was out of integrity with my body, with taking care of my body. During COVID, during 2020, I was home a lot. I wasn't traveling. I wasn't eating, I was close to the fridge, stuff like that. I wasn't traveling a lot. And I just didn't take care of my well-being of my body. And on January 28th of 2021, I remember shaving and I looked at myself and I said, you're out of integrity. You're lying to yourself. I confronted myself in the mirror. I said, you're lying to yourself. You are walking around disowning this important meat suit of your body. You treat your body like a woodshed, not like a temple. And I said, you're out of integrity. And I said to Tatiana, my partner, I said, you know what? I said, I just confronted myself in the mirror. And I said, by the end of today, because I wanted accountability with my partner, I said, by the end of today, I'm going to have a strategy of what I'm going to do. I thought, I'm not good at working out in a gym. Again, I was clumsy growing up as a phys ed. So I called a bunch of people. I said, we're gonna have a WhatsApp group. We're gonna have a hiking group. And I phoned a bunch of people. I said, listen, I'll be the slowest person in the hiking group, but I live here in Vancouver, Canada. So we're gonna go hiking. And I started on February the 1st of 2021 as the slowest person in the hiking group. Today, I average 80 to 100 kilometers, about 50 to 60 miles a week of hiking. 5 months later, I've climbed some of the biggest mountain peaks in the last couple months here in British Columbia, Canada, where if you would have told me a year ago, I would have said to you, I couldn't see myself. I didn't have the belief system. I wouldn't even be able to relate to that. And now I climb those. Now I look around when I'm like last night I was in a helicopter and I was flying in a helicopter last night. And I looked and I thought, wow, I've climbed some of these mountain peaks. This is mind-boggling. But I use it as a metaphor towards business. And so I was comfortable. I'm 218 pounds. I'm overweight statistically, but I realized that, you know what? I can get better. I've tripled and multiplied my energy in the last 5 months. I'm sleeping less. I'm eating less. I've got more energy to serve more humanity and other people. I'm more joyful. And I've released 31 pounds in weight. And it's incredible. I've got new clothes, different clothes. And people are coming up to me and saying, wow, you're such an inspiration on social media. Why? The hikes that you're doing. They're not, and people have known me for years. Like I never saw you as a hiker. I didn't identify as a hiker either. I didn't think I was ever going to climb these mountain peaks and do all this kind of stuff. And now be one of the fastest people in my hiking group of almost 80 people. I never thought, imagine of that. So
I love the fact, Darren, that you look at each and all different areas of your life and that your focus is on where can I get into integrity? Where can I improve? How can I show up better? How can I be better? Right. So Absolutely. I can serve more. And, as you said, contribution and giving, that's really where the magic happens without expectation in return, right? But we know through the law of reciprocity that things have a way of coming back. The more we give of ourselves, we tend to receive more. Kind of reminds me of what the late, great Zig Ziglar said: you can have everything in life you want if you'll just help enough other people get what they want. Yes. And it's so very true. And going back to the question I asked you about, the person who says, well, hey, look, I'm doing just fine in business. I don't need to worry about the other areas. My response to someone like that, and this is just based on my own experience and those that I've studied and had conversations with, we tend to find, yes, you may be doing well in business or well in a particular area in your life, either personally or professionally at the moment. But sure. What ends up happening if we don't have the other areas, whether it's spirituality, whether it's our health, mindset, all of those other areas, if we're not working on those areas and getting those areas into integrity and improving, it starts to leak. It starts Absolutely. To show up in other areas. It is a matter of when, not if. Would you concur with that?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I've discovered in my life, right, that time will either promote you or time will expose you. It's just a matter of time whether you get promoted or you get exposed. And so I get asked all the time, people say, well, what do you think about this? Or what do you think about that? I said, you know what? Time will promote or time will expose. It's just a matter of time. Right. And so people realize that they think, I can just cheat this or do this. Okay, great. You'll get away with it today. But 10 years from now, it's going to catch up to you. So you might as well just do things right now and be in integrity with things, because without integrity, nothing works. There's no workability. And people think I had a gentleman a couple of years ago. I met with a guy at a lunch meeting one time. The guy says, integrity, I could care less about integrity. And they're like, why? He goes, Darren, when I die, I don't take integrity with me. He says, I don't have integrity. Because I don't believe in integrity. I don't believe in win-win. I believe in, he goes, I believe in what's in it for me. And that was the last time I ever saw the guy. I don't want anything to do with the guy, right? Because we don't resonate with each other. But the mindset he has, and then I see him struggle. He's overweight. He's always financially broke. And the question is, how's it working for you? Right? Just look at how's it working for you. Are you getting the creating lifestyle you want based on what you're doing? Because what you're putting out there, right? People don't realize that. Like I have people, and you probably have this too, on Jay, on LinkedIn, for example, or on Facebook. I have people who friend request me. And then I'll accept their friend request, and then boom, they start pitching me on something. They start pitching and selling me. And I always ask, are you attracting or repelling people? Right? Because the thing is that, I'll give you a quick example. I remember years ago, I was on the road. I was at Holiday Inn. I was at a Holiday Inn hotel, and I was struggling financially. I was raising money for a business, and I met this accredited investor, high net worth guy. And I didn't have the money to leave the Holiday Inn and to go meet with him. So I told him a story. I said, listen, can you come to the hotel? It'd be better if I'll buy you breakfast. Lied to him. When he came into the hotel, there was a sign on the wall what the Holiday Inn, they give continental breakfast.
Sure.
Okay. So he came in, and there was a sign on the wall, breakfast for registered guests only. And he knew that he wasn't supposed to be in there. I snuck him in. I told him I was going to buy him breakfast, lying. And so he sits down with me, and I automatically start pitching and selling him why he should give me I think it was $50,000 for some business I was involved with. And I just start pitching and selling. And the guy looks at me and goes, Darren, can you shut up? He goes, can you just shut up? Stop talking. He goes, can I give you some advice? He said, stop pitching and selling people who've got money that can write a check. Stop pitching and selling people and start listening and asking questions and educating and informing people. And he goes, I'm gonna speak to you right now. He goes, let's just put some cards on the table. He goes, number one, the reason why you didn't come meet with me, because you're flat broke financially. I remember I didn't know this guy. I cold called this guy as an investor. He goes, you're financially broke. I said, well, how do you know that? And I start arguing with him, right? Ego. And I start arguing with him. He goes, well, let's just look at the reality of integrity, Darren. On the wall up there, it says registered guests only. You told me on the phone call you were going to buy me breakfast. You're not paying for breakfast. This is complimentary breakfast. I'm not supposed to be here today. This is for registered guests only. He goes, when you stop lying to people and stop exaggerating, embellishing things, and start being yourself, you'll start raising money and people start writing you checks. Today, I'm not going to write you a check. I hope you want me to write you a check for $50,000 today. I hope I give you $50,000 of advice today. That's my check I'm writing for you today. I'm giving you $50,000 of advice versus writing you a money check. And I'm like, wow. And he goes, stop pitching and selling and start educating and informing. Start building relationship equity. Get people to know you, like you, and trust you before you ask them to buy or go into business with you or be involved with you. Get them to know you, like you, and trust you. He goes, I sat down with you. I don't know you. I don't like you yet. And I don't trust you yet. And you're pitching and selling me. And you brought me to a place that you lied to me to buy me breakfast. This is my early 20s.
Amazing.
Wow.
What a powerful lesson.
Yeah.
What a powerful lesson. And at the right time, right? At the right age, the right message. And
I thought I was fooling people. I thought nobody could see it. Remember, here I'm running around raising money, and I thought nobody could see it. I thought I was just, I'm smart and I'm strategic and all this kind of stuff. And now I see people through social media posting things like, I see people, and you probably do this. I saw a guy the other day post this Lamborghini he's driving. He doesn't own a Lamborghini. The guy's broke, but he's selling this dream. And these people doing these things and they just, there's no authenticity. There's no integrity. There's no sincerity. There's just total embellishment. And time will promote you, or time will expose you. It's just a matter of time whether you get promoted or you get exposed.
So true. So let's switch to the work that you do advising companies. How did that first begin to evolve for you? And you sit on the board of a multitude of different organizations, including EXP World Holdings, which is EXP Realty. Where did all that start? And kind of walk us through that process.
In 2011, I'm flying from San Francisco to New York, United Airlines. I'm journaling. And I thought, you know what? I want to get onto paid advisory boards and paid boards of directors of companies. I thought I could really just level things up and scale things up for myself. So I write down in my journal, and then I start having conversations and telling people, hey, these are what my intentions are. This is what I want to do. And I had people laughing and say, come on, Darren, listen, let's be realistic here. You don't have an MBA, you don't have a PhD, you never went to Harvard or Stanford or Yale or Wharton School of Finance. You barely passed public school. You don't have any formal education. You've traveled the world being a corporate trainer, training people, running seminars for many years. But you're not going to fit the profile of being on a paid board of directors or paid advisory board. You can work nonprofit and be volunteer, but you're not going to get on this. And I just believed that I could really serve my years of history and experience to really make a difference and a contribution. So in 2013, 2 years later, I get a phone call from a family member or somebody I've known in my family for many years, a friend of mine. And he said, hey, listen, my family's looking at investing in this startup residential real estate company with an entrepreneur. Would you be willing to fly back at your own expense? That's where most people would have hung up the phone. That's what they said to me on the phone. It was a high net worth family. So would you be willing to fly back at your own expense and come meet with our family as part of our due diligence team to look at this company that we're going to look at investing money with? So I thought, man, they're a high net worth family. They're really successful. They've owned multiple companies. I've known them for many years. Absolutely. So I flew from Vancouver to Kelowna, British Columbia, Canada, at my own financial expense. And I told people, hey, I'm flying back to meet with these people. Like, wait a second here, Darren. You're paying for your own airline ticket, your travel expenses, and this family wants you to come back and be part of their due diligence team, and you're working for them, and they're not paying you, and they're a wealthy family. I'm like, yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Why don't they pay for everything? I said, because I want to be around them, because I want to learn, because proximity is power. So I flew back with them, met with the founder of this company, startup company called EXP Realty. And this is in 2013. And he had a couple hundred people in the company. And he wanted to disrupt the residential real estate industry by not having physical bricks and mortar locations. Kind of like Blockbuster Video and Netflix. Why do you have to have all these bricks and mortar locations? Why don't you just build a virtual cloud-based real estate company? So I really liked the guy. Guy was just an integral guy. The way he came across, he was very humble, very smart, but just there to educate and build a relationship and just spend quality time and connect with me. And so what happened was, on behalf of the family, we went back and forth multiple times for a few months, doing due diligence with the family because I wanted to learn more about due diligence. Mm-hmm. And then the family came back and said, hey, would you consider being an independent board of directors of this company? We can't pay you, but we'll pay you equity in the company. And I believed in this guy, even though people said this is not going to work. So I went to 73 people. I wrote down 73 people's names that were very successful men and women in the real estate industry across North America that I knew through my corporate training career. And I went through all these brokers, these real estate teams, the husbands and wives. And I went to all 73 people and said, hey, listen, I'm looking at getting involved with this startup residential real estate company. They got a couple hundred people in the company. They have no physical bricks and mortar locations. They don't have a budget. They're running on a shoestring. They're building airplanes. They're flying it. And everybody laughed and said, Darren, do not get involved with this company. But I thought, man, this high net worth family's getting involved. They're looking at writing a check. And they want me to look at getting involved. And I just believed in this guy, this entrepreneur. So I said yes. And that was in 2013. A couple hundred people in the entire company. I was the first independent board of directors member of the company. Today, we're a publicly traded company on NASDAQ. I've had a chance to go to NASDAQ not once, but twice, and we're in the closing bell. We're a multi-billion-dollar company. In fact, last quarter, we did over $1 billion in revenue. And today we have, at the time of this recording, we have over 63,000 people in 19 countries on 5 continents.
Wow. Incredible.
And then in 2013, we had a couple hundred people. And now we're at over 63,000 people, agents.
That's just it's amazing. And I love how you shared that you took the time, right? You made a list of 73 different individuals that were in that space that you reached out to for advice, for input, for feedback. And you believed in it. Everyone else told you can't be done. It's just it's an amazing story. So we have a lot of real estate agents that listen to this show. What piece of advice would you give to someone who is, let's say, new in the real estate business and they're really looking to be able to make a difference? They're looking for a way to differentiate themselves from everyone else out there. What would you tell them?
Yeah, become relational versus transactional. Relationship or real estate is a transaction business, and it's about transactions versus building relationships. Build relationship equity with people. Be relational versus transactional is a key thing. Also, ask for help, mentorship, guidance, mastermind groups, coaches, mentors that are in the real estate space of people who've already got a track record of performance. Get around these people because they can shorten your learning curve and fast track you. Because a lot of times agents get in, it's such an uphill because they don't have, 1,000 people or more in their network. Most people, they got maybe 100, couple hundred people. And the rejection is high in your first couple of years because it's such a learning curve. You pass your exam, you get your license, and now you're out there, you get a broker, and now you're out there networking with people, following up with people, and managing a calendar, managing your life, managing your income that's up and down because it's commission-based, right? So get around people who are successful, who can show you how to do the daily disciplines and the daily habits. It's so important, your daily habits and daily disciplines. And then structure and schedule that out into your calendar. So you live by your calendar. So these are what you need to do each and every day, like making so many phone calls, so many follow-up calls, prospecting, networking, social media posts. So there's consistency. And then once you get going, hire a virtual assistant, right? Hire someone virtually, whether it's in the same state or province or country as you, or outsource it internationally, but hire a virtual assistant to take care of everything that's not income producing or revenue generating. Because if you look at real estate, for example, there's about 200 tasks that a real estate agent can do, but only about a half a dozen that actually produce income. The rest are all administration, back office, compliance tasks. And so the thing is all those tasks that you touch that don't produce income for you, outsource them or delegate them or automate them or systemize them. But don't do all those tasks, right? So for example, social media. So I'm going to do all these social media posts. Hire a virtual assistant to do that. And if you don't have the money to hire a virtual assistant, then go to a college or university and get an intern or somebody who will apprentice with you, or somebody in your network goes to church with you or lives in your neighborhood or your community or your fitness center. Say, listen, somebody's got a son or a daughter that wants to learn, have them come and apprentice with you and mentorship under you. And they can do your social media for you. Do an hour a day or a few posts a day and have somebody else take care of that. And then just do a weekly meeting with them and do a 15-minute or 30-minute briefing each week and just go through the week. Here's what we're going to do this week. And then unfold it for them so they know the process. And then just start having meetings with people and start building. Because here's the thing to realize that I've discovered in my life. Most of your goals don't require your actions. Think about that for a moment. Most of your goals in life do not require your actions. There's a big turning point in my life. Most of your goals don't require your actions. See, most people think they have to do all their actions to achieve their goals and dreams. But it's about creating teams and teamwork. Right? Whatever you're not good at, delegate it. Whatever you're not good at, automate it, systemize it, or eliminate it. Stay in your lane. Focus on what you do. I know my strengths and I know my weaknesses. I used to do everything in my life. Now I focus on what I'm really good at. Everything I'm not, I build teams of people around me. And they take care of everything I'm not good at because I'm not that guy. People call me, they're texting or email. I'm like, I'm not that guy. Talk to this person. I'm not that guy.
Such great advice. Such great advice. I mean, that applies across the board to any business, right? Any business category. And that's an area, Darren, and in the work that I do in coaching businesses, that seems to be one of the biggest areas where business owners get stuck, right? Because there's a bottleneck because they think that they need to do everything in order for it to be done right. And they don't realize that if they were to look at outsourcing or figuring out a way to delegate areas of responsibility that are not their area of strength, they can start to see amazing things begin to happen in their business.
Absolutely.
But part of that is just allowing things to let go, right? Yeah. Letting those things go.
I'm just completing an acquisition on a couple of accounting firms in the United States. I'm buying a couple of accounting firms with a partner who's a CPA of 35 years, a good friend of mine, CPA. So he runs all the day-to-day operations, all the bookkeepers, accountants, and tax planners. I don't do any of that stuff. I don't touch any of the day-to-day operational stuff. I work on the visionary. He's the integrator. So I work on growing and scaling the practice to get a 3 or 4 multiple so we can sell it and exit in 2 or 3 years to a big 4 accounting firm. So I'm looking at the exit, how we're going to exit and go through a liquidity event with it, right? But also create more jobs. He focuses on all the day-to-day stuff. I don't do that. I focus on how we're going to grow the company and then exit and go through an acquisition. So we're acquiring the companies. We're just completing acquisitions this quarter, and then we're going to sell them in 2 or 3 years. We're going to get a 3 or 4x, maybe even a 6x multiple on it of return.
Perfect.
And the cash that I create from that goes into my investments to create more income producing assets, which then goes long-term to global philanthropy. I've committed $100 million over the next 10 years towards global philanthropy projects. So I'm building companies and income producing cash machines for global philanthropy because that's my legacy.
Amazing. And you and I had an opportunity to talk about this in a prior conversation, and it just, it's amazing what you are building and the legacy that you're creating. I want to delve into that a bit because I think it's such an important thing for all of us to understand is that you're not just living for today, right? No. You are building a very long-term
250-year legacy plan, 3 generations.
Imagine that.
Yeah, so we're solving for, and that's the key thing I always train people. This is something you can use in your coaching practice or even listening. I always ask people, and this is something you can do in a discovery call, what are you solving for in your life? And so what I'm solving for is through global philanthropy. The intention with Link Foundation is to actually put Link Foundation out of business. We want our foundation to actually go out of business. That means we've solved the global humanitarian problems that we want to solve with our foundation. So our intention, the long-term strategy is to actually put Link Foundation out of business because then we've solved the problems. And that's our metrics. Our KPIs can tell us that, hey, we're on track to solving these problems in the world for global humanity.
Incredible. Incredible. So in our remaining couple moments here, I would be remiss if we didn't talk about your brand new book that's coming out here soon. And by the time this recording comes out, the book actually should be out by then. Right now it's pre-order and it's called Until I Become. So share with us why you wrote the book. What was the catalyst behind it? And give us a snapshot of what the book is and what our viewers and those that want to purchase the book can expect to receive from it.
Sure. The book, tears in my eyes. The book was actually written for me. It was actually a book that I wish somebody would have gave me years ago. I wouldn't have had all the adversities, the failures, the struggles. During COVID, during the lockdown, Tiff and I were doing some estate planning, end of life planning. And I realized I had over 20 years of journals that have been written every single day. And I had some really dark, deep days of my life where, financial struggles, days I wanted to quit, lots of negative self-talk, feeling defeated, feeling rejected, overcoming adversities and failures, not feeling not good enough, not smart enough. And I would write private conversations in my journals every day, a private conversation with myself. And what I discovered during the end of life estate planning with Tatiana and I was that who was going to get my journals if something was to ever happen upon my death, right? What would I do with these journals? And what I realized was, as I was going through these journals and just reflecting during COVID, during the lockdown, I thought, oh my gosh, there's so much valuable information in these journals of private conversations with myself and with many other people that I reached out to in my network or when I was traveling over the 20 years. And a lot of this information that was shared with me is information you wouldn't get at a university or college or in a school or in a seminar or in a TED Talk and stuff. There was valuable practical information in there. And I thought, over 25 years, I had many book publishers reach out to me, want me to write a book. I had never any interest in doing it. And I thought, what a way to make a difference in people's lives by paying it forward and passing on, creating a ripple of impact that could really transform the human spirit. And that's what it was for me, was transforming the human spirit. And I thought, what if I could create a book that's under 100 pages, that's no fluff, no sizzle, just facts, just practical things that you can do as a strategic roadmap for your life. Things that I've learned from being on welfare to having an R9 credit rating, to turning things around, to going from eating my next meal of a garbage dumpster, becoming a decamillionaire today, to doing these things in my life, where I come from. And so I unpack things in Until I Become that will give you a strategic roadmap for your life in terms of being grateful with gratitude, to counting your blessings, to, your mindset, to how to overcome adversities, failures, challenges, setbacks, raising capital, how to build a network with people, how to create a legacy, all these things that I create. And a lot of the information that's in Until I Become, you won't read it anywhere else. Because this is stuff that was in my own private conversations with myself. It was my own deep thoughts that I had. And I write the book. The book is very raw. I just put all my cards on the table. Like, it's full transparency. Like there's no fluff, there's no filler, there's no sizzle. It's the full meal deal. Like it's a very raw book of my journey of what I've went through to where I come from, what I went through to where I am today. And it gives you a behind the curtain scene of thinking, wow. And it's very moving. But we had a focus group, went through the book to read the book. And I had some critics. We selected people that were really critical people. People that are going to punch holes in it and show us our blind spots and really give us constructive feedback. And I selected people who would never buy this book, by the way. I wanted people who have no interest in, like they wouldn't spend $20. So there's the kind of people, if you ever want good feedback, if you ever want to do a market research in your business, find coaching, whatever it is, real estate, find people who would never refer you business. Find somebody who would never give you an endorsement or a testimonial and have them be part of your focus group to give you feedback. It's gold. And we had all the people in the group came back and said, wow, this is so authentic. It's so vulnerable, so real, right? That I want to order multiple copies. One guy ordered 50 copies. He would never buy the book. He said, Darren, I just tell you right now, I never buy this book. We asked him to read the book, ordered 50 copies of the book.
Amazing.
Because he said, this has changed my mindset of what you put in the book. Because he's a no fluff kind of guy. He's a no nonsense, no BS kind of guy. He says, oh yeah, personal development. Oh yeah, it's just repurpose, yeah, Darren, repurpose, repackage stuff. Why would I waste my time reading something that you've just regurgitated? It's been around for decades. So that's not what the book's about. And so he read it, he's like, wow, this is not regurgitated, repackaged information.
Well, I cannot wait to get my hands on this book. And obviously, we're going to provide a link to be able to purchase the book, right? To pre-order it and to purchase the book, and also share a link to your website and all of your social channels as well. So before I ask my final question to you, what overarching piece of advice would you like to share with our audience?
In your life that, life is going to go through peaks and valleys, and you're in life, we're either coming for a problem, we're in a problem, or we're heading towards a problem. And when you can accept that as being a human being, that, you're going to deal with adversities and challenges and failures and tragedies in your life. You're going to get hugged and you're going to get slugged. You're going to get kissed and you're going to get kicked. You're going to get supported and you're going to get challenged. And, if I use my hand as an example, you're going to be cursed and you're going to be blessed. You're going to be cursed and you're going to be blessed. You're going to be cursed and you're going to be blessed in your life. And you're going to go through peaks and valleys and adversities and challenges. And it's part of life. The bigger the game you play in your life, professionally, whether it's having families, it's a job, it's a career, it's finance, your health, your relationships, whatever it is, you're going to always have support and challenge. And in my early days, I always wanted the support, but never the challenge. Like the focus group of the book. I didn't want people to beat up my book and rip it apart. This is personal, private conversations with myself over 2 decades in my journals. Why would I want someone to give me constructive feedback and beat that up on me? That was intimate moments with myself and raw, vulnerable things. But the thing is, you get a different perspective, different point of view. And realize that in life is that we don't have money problems in life. We only have thinking problems. There's no lack of financial capital on this planet. All you need to do is find a way to be in service to other people by helping them solve their problems, mitigating risks or liabilities or exposures to it, and just being in service. And the key thing is, with all this social media today, is a lot of it's a facade. People are looking good and they don't want to look bad, but they're not being authentic. And the more that you can be real with people, like in my tough meetings with mentors that I met with people, because when the student is ready, the teachers appear. I think these people were blessings. They were angels to me in my life. Like that guy at the Holiday Inn, that investor that sat down with me one time and, told me to stop talking. I think he was a blessing that day to me in my life. I left that meeting and I said, I don't want to live my life this way anymore. That was a defining moment for me. I could have left that meeting and said, oh, that guy's a jerk, and left. But I left and said that meeting, I said, I don't want to live my life this way anymore. It was a defining moment. I thanked that guy because he taught me a valuable lesson to be myself. And so when it comes to social media or being out there, just be real. A lot of people hide and they pretend that things are all good. And I did that for a bit of my life. I didn't want people to know because I was embarrassed. But just be yourself, and you'll realize that whatever you're going through, other people around you, whether it's online or in your community where you live, are going through things. And just ask for help. I didn't want to ask for help. So I suffered in silence for many years in my life, multiple suicide attempts, right? Trying to end my life. And because why do I want to bother anybody else? But I realize now reaching out to other people or asking for professional help is such a big thing, because it can turn your life. It can be a big turning point in your life. And you're not alone. You're not alone. You'll feel alone at times. I've felt that way. I felt not good enough. I felt invisible, felt they don't matter, felt stupid, all that kind of stuff. But you'll realize that you're not alone, and that we're just a network of conversations.
Truth. So much goodness in what you just shared. So thank you for that. And here's my final question to you.
Sure.
What are you adding or eliminating from your life to live more fulfilled and with greater purpose?
Well, it's interesting because after this interview today, I'm actually taking off for 4 days. I'm going to speak at a real estate conference. So I'm taking off after this. And I just said to Tatiana, she's come with me. I realized I don't want to pack anymore. I want to have someone in the neighborhood. I want to hire someone to pack I don't enjoy packing. It's stressful for me. So that's what I'm eliminating as of today. After today, I want to have somebody come in and pack for me, because it's stressful for both Tatiana and I to pack, because we've got so much stuff going on, and just to change our mindset and thought process to pack. So we're going to outsource that or delegate that to somebody else. Another thing about changing things is, there's a lot of negativity out there right now. with the COVID-19, with the virus and the vaccine and all that stuff going on. There's a lot of negativity on social media and news media and some of that. And the biggest thing is spending time for yourself. I think a big thing that people don't do that I do now, and I never thought I ever had any time for it, is thinking time. Actually schedule into your calendar thinking time, a couple hours a week, whether it's going for a walk in the forest, being by an ocean, a lake, a park, meditation, whatever it is, in prayer, but spend time in your calendar thinking time. And then people always ask me, they go, but Darren, what do I think about when I'm scheduling thinking time on my calendar? That's a great question. Think about what you're thinking. Start there. Think about what you're thinking. Maybe it's time to upgrade your thoughts, your mindset, your beliefs, and just like me with my health. I scheduled thinking time. And then I realized during my thinking time, what I was thinking about was, how do I increase and multiply my energy? How do I take care of more of my physical body? How do I have more joy and love and fulfillment in my life? And so think about what you're thinking about. So important. Most people don't think about what they're thinking about. These are just reoccurring thoughts in their dialogue of their mind. But when you stop and you schedule time to think about what you're thinking about, you'd be amazed at realizing, wow, these thoughts, these don't support me. My brain's job is just to protect me and keep me safe, and it does a great job of it. But all these other thoughts, I need to upgrade and change those thoughts. Because we believe our mindset. We believe the mindset. We believe those voices in our head to be real. I used to have I didn't have a committee. I didn't have voices. I had a stadium of voices. I had a whole stadium of voices. I had to learn to limit those voices.
So much greatness in what you've shared. And for all of you right now that are watching and listening to this, let me share this with you. You know, you've heard about authenticity. You've heard about integrity. You've heard about being real, being yourself, sharing of who you are, giving. You've heard all of those things throughout this conversation. Let me just tell you, these are not catchphrases with Darren. Darren lives this every single day. It comes through in this conversation, Darren. It comes through in everything that you put out on social. It came out in our prior conversations. And I appreciate that. I respect that. And thank you. So I just want you to know how grateful I am for you sharing of yourself, sharing of your wisdom, of your experience, and giving back, right? Giving to our audience so they can experience more out of their own lives and out of their own businesses. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm grateful to be here.
Thank you. And for all of you, thank you so much for watching and listening. And please take a moment to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. We would love it if you would share one or two comments, maybe tell us what you took away from this conversation, what resonated with you, and to learn more about how Jay Shear Business Consulting can help your business achieve greater results so you can see better success in your life. All you need to do is visit jayshearbusinessconsulting.com. And until next time, keep learning, keep growing, order a copy of Until I Become, and we'll see you on the next Business Minds Coffee Chat. Take care.
Jay Shear.
Jay Shear Business Consulting.